Everyone, I'm Karin du Plessis. I'm the Fontan Registry Research Coordinator, and I'm going to talk to you today about parents and patients' greatest concerns. If we can get my slides up. Is that the button? Good. All right. So a bit of a change of topic. We're moving away from some of the medical stuff a little bit. And let's give you a sense of some of the stuff which some of you have engaged with. I want to reflect some of that back to you from some surveys that we did. So we did a couple of surveys, and this is what I want to talk about. I'm going to quickly mention the survey method that we used. I'll talk about the results, and then I'm going to talk about some implications for practice. And both of these papers that I'm talking about, we've published. So if you're interested in actually getting a paper, a hard copy, please let me know. Maybe during the break, and I can organise to get you one. So in terms of our survey method, this was very much a teamwork exercise together with the Australian-New Zealand Fontan Advisory Committee. And these are some of the members here who, you'll see some of the faces here today, who all participated in helping to bring this survey together. It was very much a, we went round and round and round quite a bit with getting this survey together. I think that was really important until we got to a point where we were really happy with the questions that we were asking. And we were all ready to get rolling. We got ethics approval for this project, and then we kicked it off. So we did two surveys. We did a parent survey. Both of these were online. We sent out some individual email invitations, and we promoted it at previous education days. There were 338 email addresses that we had. If you don't have your email address listed with the registry, please give it to us so we can ask you in the future to participate in surveys. So we had 107 of the 338 people participate, the parents. So that was a 32% response rate, which was really nice. They were all individual respondents by one couple. We didn't ask parents what their gender was, what their level of education was, what their ethnicity was. We were more interested in their opinions on what they thought were their greatest concerns. The parents represented children who was 64% male, and on average 11 years old, but there was a huge range, and with slightly more severe diagnosis, so a few more with HLHS in there than what's in the general Fontan registry. And interesting just to note that 46% of the parents did not know what type of Fontan operation their child had. The adult survey we did, similar methodology, so online, and we sent email invitations. We had 298 email addresses of adults, and we had 57 adults who participated in that, so 19% response rate. Slightly more women participated, so we had 70% with women who participated. We had a huge range, so 18 to 51 years were our adults, with an average of 33 years. And their diagnoses were very similar to what we saw in the registry in general. And over 2/3 of adults with the Fontan circulation did not know what type of Fontan operation they had. So these surveys generated a lot of data. We were asking people about their greatest concerns. So this was very much they just wrote down what their greatest concerns were. So we applied some thematic analysis where we looked for some key themes in that information, and that's what we're pulling together to show you here in the results. So, what are people's greatest concerns? And I'm sure this is going to be no mystery to all of you. I'm going to separate out the parents and the adults' greatest concerns for you. So, for the parents, this very much was sort of split between two main themes. We had uncertainty around life expectancy and quality of life for their children. This is what parents were mostly concerned about. These two things stood out both together equally in my reading of the surveys. The uncertainty around life expectancy was centered around the fear of the unknown. So people were worried about what will a transplant bring, whether their child might need further surgeries, might there be further complications, what will happen to their organs, their liver, their kidneys. And then they were equally worried about the quality of life. And the quality of life was very much, for parents, contrasted to what is perceived as normal. In contrast with peers, what was perceived as normal. So the things that were sort of linked to the quality of life stuff was medications. We had a lot of people comment about warfarin and anticoagulation and how that has impacted on the quality of life. And certainly with a lot more people moving to home INR monitoring, that has made it a lot easier for people. Mental health was a big thing for many parents. They were, many of the parents and their kids were quite traumatized and still feeling it. Exhaustion and fatigue was a big thing for parents. Future employment, people were wondering what's going to happen down the line. And then pregnancy as well, if they had a daughter. Will she be able to have babies? What's going to happen in that space? Financial impact was a separate question that we asked, but this was also something that, certainly we had parents say this is something that has impacted on them financially. So these were some of the quotes. Will she be able to have a normal life, have children? How long will his heart be able to cope with the Fontan circulation? What other problems can occur? He has progressively become fatigued and inactive and unable to attend school full time. But we also had parents say he is worth every penny, and the time we have spent with him is priceless. So for adults, it panned out a little bit differently. Again, we have at the center of the message, really, this fear around uncertainty of life expectancy. But this separated out slightly different for adults. So while this sort of sat at the heart of it, and it influenced all these other domains, so physical concerns, pregnancy, contraception in children, financial concerns and quality of life, and all of these really weighed sort of quite equally for adults. Some of the quotes we saw here from adults: that eventually I won't be able to do the things that I enjoy. I'm not sure what my life expectancy is. The ongoing threat of sudden decline in health. The uncertainty makes it difficult for me to make decisions about my future, and how my Fontan would be affected should my partner and I decide to have a child of our own. So really, I think when we look at both of these together, this is what we're up against, this fear of the unknown. And I think, hopefully days like today is helping to kind of make that gap a bit smaller. So for parents, it was more centered around living a long and a happy life with a stronger focus on quality of life. And then for adults, how long will I continue to be normal, with a stronger focus on physical ability. Not that the quality of life stuff wasn't part of that picture, it was a slightly different emphasis. So here's what we think are some of the implications for practice. So some of these came from consumers, and some of these are definitely my own thoughts. Regular exercise. So you're going to hear this a lot. I think this is going to be one of the big take-home messages today. So exercise and physical activity encouraged from a young age. It has all sorts of other spin-offs and benefits. So you've got a physically healthy and strong body. It improves quality of life and mental health. And, of course, the social benefits of participating in sport and with other people. Pregnancy, clear advice on contraception and pregnancy for adolescents and young women. And Dominica is going to talk today about pregnancy, and Heart Kids is also, I'm not sure if you've already grabbed one, but there's a congenital heart disease, adult sexual health and pregnancy information document which Heart Kids and Dr. Dominica Zentner has prepared and are launching today. So we've made great gains in this space, but there's lots still that we can do. Direct conversations and better information. So clear conversations about outcomes between doctors and their patients, I think, might help alleviate some of these uncertainties and fears. Of course, this should be delivered in a sensitive manner and with language that is simple and jargon-free. I think it's really important that the doctors check that their patients understand what they are saying, but it's also on the patients to check that you understand what your doctor has said. And very importantly, making sure that psychological support is in place. I kind of harp on about this for a bit, so we'll touch on it several times. Mental health support for parents. We know that there's a high risk for trauma and stress, particularly after surgeries. It's important to seek support. And we're going to hear, Lisa's going to talk about some of the support that Heart Kids is offering. They've also got a family coping program, which she'll mention. Of course, GPs, your mental health plan, which people can access, psychological and counselling support, and then community support, also very important. So all of these aspects, I think, need to be something that people look at. I really think this is where we need to go. We need to have psychologists in hospitals. Early intervention, we know, works best, is most effective, and it's also cheaper in the long term. It should be integrated into the care as part of the treatment plan for everyone, including the families. And that should also include some appropriate referrals to community supports. I think what this research really highlights for us as well is that it is really important to show the patient perspective, to make sure that you've got a voice in this field. So really, I think we need to do more in this space. I want to really thank ANZFAC, the Australian New Zealand Fontan Advisory Committee, for helping to pull together this surveys, as well as everyone who had participated and gave their time to participate in the surveys. And while we know there is uncertainty ahead, it's something we can't get away from, I thought this was a really nice quote. Trust the wait, embrace the uncertainty, enjoy the beauty of becoming. When nothing is certain, anything is possible. Thank you.